From South Carolina Public Radio, this is the South Carolina Lede. I'm your host, Gavin Jackson, and this episode was recorded on November 3rd, 2025 from South Carolina Public Radio Studios here in Columbia. It's dreary. On this episode of The Lede, we look at what's on tap this week, the latest drama from the gubernatorial campaign trail, including Congresswoman Nancy Mace's security meltdown. We have the latest on the government shutdown as well. We hear from Micah Malice, the new president and CEO of SCETV, about what will be a challenging year. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell provides an economic update while cutting interest rates and more. A lot going on in this episode, gang. But it's dreary because we stopped daylight saving time. DST, we want to hear about your reactions to falling back. 803-563-7169. Fall back into the hopper with us. We promise you it's a safe space. We love the seasonality of things right now, so give us a shout at 803-563-7169. All you fall freaks, this is for you. Let's look at what's on tap this week at the State House. There are several meetings happening as we are nearly 2 months away from the start of session. Can you believe it? I can't. Wow, I just realized that. Wonderful. On Tuesday morning, there is a Public Utilities Review Commission meeting. On Wednesday, there is a 10 a.m. Senate Medical Affairs Subcommittee meeting, and 2 Senate Oversight Subcommittees meet as well, one looking at the Department of Revenue and the other at the Attorney General's office. Over in the House on Wednesday morning, there is a Legislative Oversight Subcommittee meeting on SLED, and there's the first Juvenile Crime Assessment and Strategic Reform Ad Hoc Committee at 12:30. And at 1:30 p.m., the House Legislative Ethics Committee meets. That's on Wednesday. Up in Congress, the House remains out and the Senate is in, holding meetings and floor activity while the federal government remains shut down. And a little elections look. New Jersey and Virginia are the 2 governor's races on the ballot this year. We're watching that on Election Day, Tuesday. Here in South Carolina, though, you have municipal elections and a handful of special state house elections as well. Find your ballot and your polling place at scvotes.org, and don't forget to bring your ID. The federal government remains shut down here on day 34 as federal workers continue working for free or are furloughed, while Senate lawmakers remain at an impasse and the president refuses to negotiate. A new NBC News poll out on Sunday found that 52% of Americans blame President Donald Trump and the Republicans for the government shutdown, while Democrats are pegged at 42% of the blame, and 4% of Americans blame both sides equally. That's a participation award right there, everybody. Everyone wins. Not really, actually. 2 federal judges ruled Friday that the Trump administration needs to use emergency funds to pay for SNAP benefits this month. The Wall Street Journal reported that Judge John McConnell in Rhode Island issued a temporary restraining order during a hearing directing the U.S. Agriculture Department to use contingency funds to make payments under the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, known as SNAP. Judge Indira Talwani in Massachusetts on Friday said that the move to suspend SNAP benefits was likely unlawful and that the government was required to use emergency funds as needed to make payments. The government has argued that nearly $6 billion in contingency funds won't be enough to cover November benefits. SNAP typically costs roughly $8 billion a month. Just an idea about how much need is out there. NPR reported Monday that benefits will restart, but will pay out half of what people normally receive. About 1 in 8 U.S. residents get an average of $187 per month in SNAP benefits. 42 million Americans, including some 560,000 South Carolinians, rely on monthly SNAP benefits to supplement food insecurity. Keeping with the federal government shutdown, some of those federal employees going unpaid are with the Transportation Safety Administration, or TSA, the folks in blue that work to secure airports and the flying public. One member of the flying public, however, was not pleased with their experience at Charleston International Airport on Thursday. I'm speaking of 1st District Republican Congresswoman and gubernatorial candidate Nancy Mace, who was seen on airport CCTV arriving at the airport on Thursday, October 30th, shortly before 7 a.m., but no security detail was waiting her at the curb as requested. The Congresswoman, who says she receives death threats regularly, was reportedly irate about this and made it known to officers as she was going through a special TSA entrance at the airport minutes later. Authorities who were waiting for Mace at a different location say it was a miscommunication as they didn't see her get dropped off. Police reports note that the Congresswoman loudly complained using vulgar language on the phone while being escorted to her gate, at one point saying Senator Tim Scott would not be treated in such a way. One Charleston County Aviation Authority police officer said in his incident report that any other person in the airport acting and talking the way she did, our department would have been dispatched and we would have addressed the behavior. Mace, however, refused to apologize despite calls from rival campaigns, as well as at a hastily called press conference early Monday morning.
From the moment I got out of my car alone in the dark to the time that I got to the gate, I've requested all body cam footage. If you want to watch me drop the F word for the 50th time in my life, have at it. Enjoy it. It'll be good. But what I will not do is I will not continue to allow or tolerate mediocre safety and security at the Charleston International Airport. This is the only airport in the country where I have had security breaches. I have traveled through 4 different airports in the last 5 days. Not a single security incident at a single one of those airports. I have had incidences at airports across the country, however, and I have watched as law enforcement swiftly swooped in to protect me. I had an incident in Chicago earlier this year where a man followed me through the airport, through the entire airport. When we realized what was going on, Chicago airport security quickly stepped in, they intervened, and they kept me safe. We had an incident at a D.C. airport in December of last year where a woman tried to have a physical altercation with me. And you know what happened? Capitol Police swiftly stepped in to protect my safety and the safety of those around me.
Her gubernatorial opponents, Attorney General Alan Wilson and Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette, have called on her to apologize to authorities, with Wilson saying, quote, disrespecting the men and women who keep our airports safe is unacceptable. Law enforcement and TSA agents show up every day to protect the public, and right now they're not even getting paid. They deserve respect and appreciation, not profanity, not threats, not tantrums. Wilson continued by saying, I'm calling on Nancy Mace to apologize for her behavior immediately. These agents and officers are the ones who actually, quote, hold the line each day to help keep us safe, and she should apologize and offer no excuse. But it's clear she only cares about herself, quote. And that was Attorney General Alan Wilson in a statement there, and also mentioning hold the line, which is a campaign phrase Mace uses. Now, the Evette campaign and their spokesman, Matthew Goines, said in a statement, quote, we knew it'd only take time before South Carolina saw Nancy Mace's true colors. She doesn't care about the rule of law, the brave men and women in law enforcement, or the voters of South Carolina. Nancy Mace only cares about one person, Nancy Mace. While our law enforcement officers put their lives on the line to protect us, Nancy Mace is busy throwing tantrums and cursing them out. That's not leadership, it's entitlement. South Carolina deserves better than a privileged politician who thinks the rules don't apply to her. And that was Matthew Goines. He's a spokesman with the Evette campaign. So all the candidates dogpiling on there, but Mace said when she becomes governor, there will be no tolerance for officials that support such mediocrity, including Elliott Sumi, the chairman of the Charleston Regional Aviation Authority.
When I'm governor, if there is a government employee or a government worker or a government executive like Elliott Sumi, who is incompetent, who is lazy, who puts people's safety at risk, you will be fired on the spot. I have no tolerance for mediocrity. I have no tolerance for people who refuse to do their job. And yes, I will absolutely 100% call you out for being incompetent.
Moving on, it's Election Day. Do you know what's on your ballot? Where it is? It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your ballot is?
Oh, no!
Okay. I expected a little bit more, but to help you along your journey, I would suggest going to a little website called scvotes.org. You can find your polling place there, your sample ballot, calendar, details, everything you need to know to successfully vote in Tuesday's election. Again, you might have a state house race being decided, but likely it's just municipal elections on your ballot. For example, here in Columbia, there's the mayor's race and an at-large city council race that I'll be voting in. So nothing crazy going on right now. The next big election is in June after this, of course, with the primary. Speaking of elections, let's look forward to future elections, specifically the 2028 Democratic presidential primary. Yes. You guys thought maybe, midterms, because now it's all midterms. No, we're talking about 2028 already. Another bout of uncontrollable laughter. If you weren't laughing, you'd be crying, folks. That's why you got to get a job doing what you love, because it's never work a day in your life, okay? It's never. That all being said, the Rules and Bylaws Committee of the Democratic National Committee approved the principles and process to determine the 2028 Democratic presidential nominating calendar.
Sounds interesting.
Yes, I know. We've all been waiting for this. This is huge.
Awesome.
This means that applications for states like your own South Carolina, seeking to become one of the 4 or 5 states in the pre-primary window, will be due next January the 16th. So we are gearing up for what February 2028 could look like right now in January 2026, gangs.
2028. Watch.
We are kind of a big deal around here. First in the South. Used to be first in the nation, but first in the South. We got that name. So we're going to see where we end up in the future. But the DNC Rules and Bylaws Committee will use 3 criteria: rigorousness, efficiency, and fairness in selecting the early primary states in the coming months. Now, South Carolina Democratic Party Chair Crystal Spain said, quote, "Over the last 20 years, South Carolina Democrats have played a special role in the Democratic presidential nomination process by our participation as one of the 4 states to lead the primary calendar. In 2024, we were chosen by the Democratic National Committee as the first in the nation primary. South Carolina's diverse electorate highlights the importance of amplifying the voices of historically underrepresented communities. South Carolina Democrats have consistently demonstrated the ability to pick the candidate who becomes our nominee. We will again make the case that South Carolina remains an early state and vigorously make the case that Black, rural, urban, and Southern voters must lead the way in the first in the nation primary," quote. That was Crystal Spain with the SC Democratic Party. Now, while South Carolina isn't a swing state for the general election, like your Georgias or your North Carolinas, which presidential candidates typically visit closer to November in presidential election years, early voting states like Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina get a chance to weigh in on presidential politics by participating early in the process with their caucuses and primaries. So giving a swing state an early voting position too would kind of shut out Democrats that have effective track records in shaping the eventual nominee. So it's like, you guys are already swing states. You don't need to take what few things places like South Carolina and Iowa have left, and that is being early in the calendar, having an early say-so, and actually helping pick the nominee. Now, DNC Chair Ken Martin said, quote, "The Rules and Bylaws Committee is hard at work designing a nominating calendar that will result in the strongest possible Democratic nominee for president through a fair, rigorous, and efficient process," quote. Now, kind of going back to the early voting states, Georgia was unable to change its primary date in 2024, which prevented the swing state from getting a more prominent position. Similarly, state law prevented New Hampshire from changing its date when Democrats put South Carolina first in the 2024 nominating process. So everyone's trying to get a little edge here, baby. Lead prediction? SC's going to be first in the South again. Going to go ahead and say it. Yeah. Take it to the bank. Next up, let's look at the ports. Last week, I forgot, this is a Gavin Open Seas Maritime Report, GOSMAR. God, I forgot that we had a GOSMAR. God, you always got to be looking on the open sea because they come out of nowhere. They really come out of nowhere. Last week, we heard about the state of the South Carolina ports in the annual address held by the Ports Authority in North Charleston. The address was held with Micah Malice just 2 weeks on the job as a new president and CEO following the abrupt resignation of his predecessor, Barbara Melvin. Malice had previously worked for the ports from 2011 through 2022, becoming chief commercial officer before leaving to become president of Harbor Logistics. I opened my interview with Malice by asking about the change and his plans for the ports that saw tepid growth this past fiscal year.
You know, the Port Authority we're in a very fortunate position. We have an exceptional team, which I maybe took for granted when I was there previously, but an exceptional team that is super motivated towards serving a larger purpose, which honestly is half the battle. We have infrastructure that prior management saw the vision and delivered on. And so we have the infrastructure we need, the terminals, everything else. We're delivering a rail terminal, but other than that, everything is largely built and ready. We're in a very fortunate position. I'd say equally, we're very candid about the challenges that we face. The industry is in year 3, going on year 4 of a freight recession. And so growth, you have to be extra creative, extra aggressive, and make bold decisions in order to engineer and to generate growth. And so that's where we really need to focus.
Can you talk about what a freight recession is essentially?
Sure.
Because I feel like everyone's still thinking, like they think about the pandemic when everything was chaotic. I mean, there's supply chain issues, there was the Suez Canal situation, and now things have maybe calmed down. We're seeing more affordable prices in that respect, but you're saying there's a recession for freight. So what does that look like?
I mean, this is oversimplified, and one should fact check the actual data points. But, during the pandemic, we were all stuck at home. We were flush with cash and buying kind of anything and everything we could to entertain ourselves. That drove across the industry, whether it's shipping or domestic trucking or whatever, that drove volumes moving through the supply chain up, order of magnitude, call it 20%. When the pandemic kind of ended and we all went back to services and traveling and whatnot, the volumes kind of crashed back to what was really a normal level. However, many in the supply chain had kind of, built the church for Easter Sunday, had invested in capacity to compensate for the increase in volumes experienced. And so today, there remains too much capacity and not enough freight. And a freight recession is just simply a year-over-year decline in the amount of freight moving through the supply chain. And that's what we've seen for the last few years.
And I kind of got you sidetracked there, but we're talking about your State of the Ports today. A big situation has been the Navy-based intermodal facility, that 118-acre rail yard, which is adjacent to the Leatherman Terminal in North Charleston. It's behind schedule, it's over budget, it's about $690 million right now. What's the need for this facility, and what's the future for it at this point?
The future is very clear. We will deliver the facility. We'll deliver it at the right time. We don't want to rush into it. We want to deliver a facility that is both fully constructed, of course, but also operationally ready to serve our customers. So that's the future of it. I won't put a specific date to it because I'm 2 weeks on the job and still figuring that out. But ultimately, we will come out with what when we believe is the right time to open the facility. What will the facility serve?
Sure.
The second part of your question. The current intermodal facilities, Norfolk Southern and CSX's yards in Charleston, are adequate for the volumes of today, but are not adequate for the volumes that we all aspire to in the future. And so delivering incremental intermodal capacity in Charleston to allow for us to continue our growth in the rail served business side of our business, we see as a critical need.
I want to ask you, of course, about tariffs and how that's affecting the shipping industry. You saw a 3% growth when it came to TEUs for the year, but you saw a dramatic decline in automotives being shipped out with 21% dip year over year. Is this all related to tariffs? I mean, uncertainty. How do you guys see that factoring into port operations?
Tariffs have caused major volatility in our industry. So during the 90-day tariff pause, the window, basically every company that needed to get inventory into the U.S. tried to get as much as they could in those 90 days. So there were volume spikes, which is very, very hard for the industry as a whole to accommodate. And that drove costs up and all the rest. And then, of course, when that window closed, and we're experiencing it right now, a drop off in imports because people are concerned about what the tariff rate may or may not be. And so we have seen tremendous volatility injected into the supply chain industry by tariffs. I think what I hear from a lot of our customers is tariffs can be compensated for if they know how to plan for them. And we saw this the last time. The last time tariffs were a fact, a reality, industry figured it out. It just takes some time to do that figuring out.
In 4 months into the fiscal year, what's the forecast for this year looking like?
I think this year will be challenging. The next 2 to 3 months, we expect, based on economists who track our industry, we expect volumes to be down across the industry and for us as well. And by not a small percentage. We're expecting a pretty sizable dip. We are cautiously optimistic about spring next year. We think that inventory levels will be at a point where imports will have to restart. We are hopeful that some of these trade deals that are being cut literally this week will bolster confidence and allow for exporters to get their product out to market. But we also know that we've got a lot of work to do, and we've got to move fast if we're going to catch this fiscal year. And so that's our primary focus.
You can find that entire interview at youtube.com/@South Carolina News. Moving on, the Federal Open Market Committee cut the federal funds rate by 0.25% following its meeting last week. The move comes while federal data reporting has been stymied by the shutdown. But Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said Wednesday that the move is in line with trends in the data and the Fed's mandate of maximizing employment and getting inflation to under 2%, as it's currently at 3%. But with the government shutdown and a lack of government data, it's unclear what may happen at the December meeting.
A further reduction in the policy rate at the December meeting is not a foregone conclusion, as I've just said. So I would say that needs to be taken on board. We had, I would just say this, 19 participants on the committee. Everyone works very hard at this and takes their obligations to serve the American people very seriously. And at a time when we have tension between our two goals, we have, strong views across the committee. And there were strongly differing views today. And the takeaway from that is that we haven't made a decision about December. And, we're going to be looking at the data that we have, how that affects the outlook and the balance of risks. And I'll just say that.
Yes, already talking about December there. Consumers, or mostly high-end consumers, we should say, are still spending, which is an important factor in estimates and decisions as well as the overall economy. However, with the solid slowdown in the labor market, trade reverberations, the ramifications of the federal government shutdown for the past month, and other factors, well, Powell said despite that strong spending, labor is drying up.
What's happened is that the supply of workers has dropped very, very sharply due to mainly immigration, but also lower labor force participation. And that means there's less need for new jobs because there isn't this flow into the pool of labor that, where people need jobs because there aren't those people now. So there's not a supply of workers showing up for jobs. In addition, demand has also gone down, and so has labor force participation has declined, which is more of a sign, in this case, of demand as well as trend. So I think you're seeing some softening.
Fed Chair Jerome Powell says it's unclear whether there will be another rate cut in December, but the economy continues to grow at a moderate pace despite that softening in the labor market. Welcome to the wind down section, our little break from the news. We're glad you're here, along with A.T. Shire, lead podcast producer.
I'm here, folks.
Hi.
Don't worry, I'm
Hi.
here. Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Gavin, it's
I'm
great
here
to see you. Gavin, I messed up
Hi.
this morning and
No.
wore all brown. You're wearing all
green,
olive green.
Olive.
What?
Even my shirt's kind of olive.
And
My God.
I got to say that it was
Drab is the word.
dreary. Drab is right.
Drab chic.
We both agreed this morning that if you had to describe what it looked like outside, it would be
Toast.
Russia in a TV show.
Yes.
You know?
Oh.
Industrial Russian TV show setting. Milieu.
St. Petersburg Square?
Did
an alley I'm going to get jumped in?
Did Chernobyl just go? Like, what
Seriously.
happened? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
hope everyone's happy.
Gavin, we have a call from someone in a much happier place than
Yeah.
us, okay? So if you're ready, we're going to go ahead and hit this.
Take
and we're going
me somewhere else, please.
This caller called 3 times.
Oh.
We're going to cover the first 2 right here, okay?
I love it.
Here we go.
Good afternoon. This is Abby Morris calling from San Francisco Time. We are anchored on the south coast of Grenada. Just listened to the Halloween edition, and I've got 3 comments. I'm going to make 3 different phone calls. The first one is an easy comment. Almond Joys are my absolute favorite Halloween candy. Kit Kats are probably about the 10th on the list, but I always go for the Almond Joys. And so I guess my Almond Joys are safe from you guys. Okay, talk to you again real soon. Bye.
Abby, that was the first one there. Just to address it right here, Almond Joys are disgusting, but
I enjoy them. It's just not preferred. I'll eat it.
If you can,
It's more than just a Hershey's bar.
if you can find some time in your next port of call, Abby, to give us a top 10 list of candy bars, I would love to hear that. But anyway, Gavin, let's get to this second call.
Okay.
Hello, this is Abby Morris, 7 Vessel Time, Grenada, making my second phone call. This one is about bats versus rats. Rats are nasty, carry diseases, damage, home spaces, can contaminate your food, your water, and as a public health issues. Bats, however, are a very important insect exterminator, and the last week in October is, per our Governor McMaster's, the South Carolina Bat Week. This year it was October 24th to the 31st, so we just missed it. But you should get help to just encourage the bats to leave. I would recommend calling South Carolina Bat Working Group. They have a Facebook page, or contact the South Carolina DNR. They have information on bats, and you may even want to get in touch with the Clemson Extension because they work with bats. But bats is actually something that you want to have in your yard. You probably don't want them in your house, but they are not a threat. They are a very positive thing to have, unlike a rat. Rats need to be stomped and gotten rid of. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Abby with the hot takes. I mean, yeah, I agree. Rats are totally that we don't want the rats. But we support the bats always.
We're not killing the bats.
No, yeah. Especially as they have to deal with that white nose syndrome, which has been plaguing them for a while.
Oh, Gavin knows a lot.
Oh, yeah,
that's dropping
right.
knowledge.
You're going into caves. You got to make sure you clean off your boots when you leave.
Clean off your boots.
It's like you can't bring firewood from a different county to another county because of the the insects and such. That's how the boll weevil comes back, guys. You want the boll weevil back?
Come on.
Is that what you want?
People. Abby, thank you for calling. We'll get you your third call. It's just a little bit longer.
Yeah.
We don't want to.
I love that she's calling from Grenada, just down to the Caribbean, keeping up with the news on her SV sailing vessel. Her little yacht with her husband. Just sounds bucolic.
I love
that.
And
I love that they make time for us. And I hope that they enjoy listening to us and laughing at us while they're I assume drinking wine, watching the sunset, eating fresh fish.
Gavin had a great point, though.
Sounds
Abby.
amazing.
If you call another time, you're going to have us on this boat.
We're coming on the boat.
We're coming on the boat.
And I don't want to sound like a pirate here because it's a very great line from how we're talking, but
a vast,
we may board the vessel without permission.
We're going to make it abundantly clear we want on the boat, okay? We will record an episode or a wind down or whatever on the boat.
Keep it as anonymous as possible, but if we can get you guys docked somewhere on the east coast of South Carolina.
You're moored on the coast of South Carolina.
West coast of South Carolina, but get on the east coast.
Yeah,
obviously.
get West Coast.
I can't do West Coast of South Carolina.
Too many pirates. But
that's a dig at lakes. Okay,
you are probably in the most polar opposite 180 from what we are in right now.
Perfect call.
Yesterday, I was watching football. After that first game ended, I just felt this innate dad sense that it's time to feed the child.
Okay, internal clock.
And I looked outside. It's dark enough that it's time that I should be starting.
Check.
Then I looked at my phone. It was only 4 o'clock.
If you would have said 1 o'clock, I would have believed you too.
So I instantly texted Gavin. I said, take a look outside. This is what these freaks
This is what they want.
This is what these monsters wanted for us. And they took from us the late sunlight.
It's still dark in the morning, okay?
It's still dark in the morning, is right.
I know. I tell you.
It's so bad.
Listen,
the sun goes down at 4:45. Well, this is terrible.
It's still dark when you leave, so I don't really understand.
I don't understand what you people want.
Yeah.
It's fall either way. Why don't you have it be sunny as late as possible? Yeah.
Not enough?
We don't want that.
I had to go hiking twice over the weekend because I can't do it on the week. I can't do it during the week.
You can't get those hours.
They don't let me on the west coast of the state. It was actually really perfect hiking weather weekend. Hate that I couldn't make it to the upstate because I would love to see some colors happening, but it is a hike to get up there.
It's starting to change just a little bit.
Also, if I want to go hike in the upstate, we're talking 2-hour drive time at least one way. I got to get there. I got to get there earlier so I can maximize daylight,
which is
because I can't save it anymore. It's forbidden. They've outlawed it. Which gives me how much time? I mean, if I want to do a hefty trek, it's going to take time. So, I also need to get back up and get my the state park kick. I'm trying to become an ultimate outsider. Don't tell too many people this, but I want to go to all the state parks. I want a badge. I want a T-shirt.
Yeah.
I want acknowledgement here.
I love that
to be
for
an
you.
ultimate outsider. Hence all the olive.
It's the olive, yeah. I said Gavin looks
This guy's
like
wearing all khaki or all olive at one point.
Gavin looks like the male lead in a zombie survival show. You know how
This is what you got to do.
they all trend towards this same
That's
look.
such a high compliment.
Yeah, no,
Now that I
I'm
hear
not saying
that.
it looks bad. It looks good, but he's got the furry collar on the olive, a military green jacket on military green pants.
I'm constantly talking about what time the sun goes down.
He's coming up with great names for different kinds of zombies, like creepers and crawlers and ghouls.
We don't have time if we want to hit the low country before dark.
The ghouls come out at night.
I wouldn't go past Lake Marion if I were you.
They got two big groups.
We haven't heard anything from north of Merle's Inlet for some time now. I'm looking at a map, folks.
Good for you, Gavin.
I'm looking at
Anyway, folks, this is what
We
we're
lost
working with.
Bennettsville.
Bennettsville has fallen, folks. So has our time on this podcast.
Yes, goodness gracious. We're falling back. We're jumping ahead. I don't know what time it is. I wish I was on island time like some people are. Alas, we are not. But give us a shout like Abby did. We love hearing from you guys, especially if you're out traveling. That's even better.
Even if you're
803
landlocked.
If you're landlocked, if you're on the west coast of South Carolina, if you're on the east coast of South Carolina, if you're out and about, let us know, 803-563-769. Maybe you're just, stuck in traffic. We'd love to hear from you. You can also leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and stay up to date with the latest news on SCETV.org and SouthCarolinaPublicRadio.org. And don't forget to support your local newspapers. The South Carolina Lead is a production of South Carolina Public Radio. Our producer is A.T. Shire. Amy Crouch is our supervising producer. Sean Birch is our executive producer. This podcast is produced with support from PeerX and is made possible in part by a grant from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, as well as listener contributions to the ETV Endowment of South Carolina. For the South Carolina Lead, I'm Gavin Jackson. Be well, South Carolina.
I don't know. I mean, bears are cute. Don't get me
They're
wrong.
adorable, but they're also always hungry.
Yeah.
I need to finance my off-the-grid, into-the-wild lifestyle.